It's fair to make the assumption that cartoons are my favorite visual medium. I know the display of my content is equivalent to a schizophrenia patient since recently I've been hopping from game, movie to game again. But just like the average American college student, I can't make my mind up on what I want to do. Nonetheless, I've watched enough cartoons in my life to overflow a children-sized sand bucket, and even with the social expectation of growing up, I don't think I will ever stop. Fuck you, adults. I take Nemo over Citizen Kane any day. Blow me. Cartoons are enjoyed by many because they're easy to consume and understand between all ages. This isn't me throwing shade to your 4-year-old niece who can't count to 9, I'm talking on behalf of myself. Consuming 40-year-old mafia movies with deep writing is a snooze fest when compared to a dog that could shapeshift and a raccoon with no life direction. A regular show doesn't have the same level of complexity as Taxi Driver, yet a raccoon and a bird are still more relatable to me. With that being said, I'm going to be discussing Over the Garden Wall.
Now the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn.
Most of you don't know what Over the Garden Wall is, and as much as I want to ridicule and make you feel bad, I can't because neither did I. I can't even say Over the Garden Wall is underrated because it was never even noticed. I know it's a trend to take old forms of art and label them unrecognized classics, but it's important that I state just because something is 10 years old doesn't qualify it as an instant masterpiece. Fuck you, Ong. You might recognize Over the Garden Wall because it was originally aired on Cartoon Network, but the many who do recognize it were either uninterested or unaware at the time, me included. The show was released in 2014, which means I was 12 playing Destiny and avoiding my homework, and if by the grace of God I was watching cartoons, it was only the ones that would air on TV. And that transitions to the second reason of why I have no nostalgia for the show. It's no secret that Cartoon Network was biased with its airtime, seeing that 2 certain shows have ingrained a spot in my brain. Adventure Time and Regular Show are great cartoons for different reasons, and while they're the most popular shows on Cartoon Network, they silenced all other creative aspects. I'm beating around the bush, but I've grown some chest hair over the last minute, so I'll shoot straight. Over the Garden Wall came out on November 3rd, 2014 and concluded on November 7th, 2014, and the reason the show isn't being discussed or mentioned is because Regular Show and Adventure Time hogged all the airspace. Advertising and social media wasn't as strong as it is now, so a miniseries with 10 episodes is going to drown when airing alongside cartoon giants. I might be coming off as bitter, and if you assume that, here's your medal because I am. Over the Garden Wall is a quality cartoon that I would have loved to experience in my youth, but I didn't get to because of these hungry hippos. But since I'm a big boy now, I watched the whole show on Hulu after a friend's recommendation. It's been on my mind since. Over the Garden Wall is a story about 2 brothers who get lost in the woods and want to find a way out. This sounds simple on paper, but so does a boy and his dog going on adventures, so please shut that lip. Over the Garden Wall is 10 episodes long, with each episode averaging around 11 minutes. This isn't a lot of time to wrap, and the show understands this by not wasting its time on filler or unnecessary tasks like Regular Show or Adventure Time. I get that it's really cool to hear Jake the dog sing about bacon pancakes, but if Adventure Time only had 1 season to wrap its narrative, you wouldn't receive downtime like this. You could criticize its length being too short, but I disagree. You don't see the argument of longer being better when Breaking Bad is compared to The Walking Dead, and you also probably expected a dick joke, but I'm already in too deep. As I stated, Over the Garden Wall is about 2 brothers who get lost in the woods and want to find a way back home. The themes and similarities within Over the Garden Wall include purgatory, religion, Dante's Inferno, child innocence, adults preying on children, loss, doubtfulness, manipulation, and the devil. Everything an American mother loves on a Sunday morning. Over the Garden Wall doesn't pander with the story because there's no audience to pander to, allowing it to be as creative as it chooses to be. This whole video I've been taking jabs and digs at these 2, and no matter what, I still love them, but in terms of being complex, you don't get heavy symbolism and personification like you do in Over the Garden Wall. To be fair though, lazy slackers and action adventures will always be linear when compared to the fucking devil. Over the Garden Wall is a modern retelling of Dante's Inferno, and while it's not directly telling you that, you can infer it. For those not educated on Dante's Inferno, it's a story about a man named Dante who gets lost in a forest and enters the depths of hell with his friend Virgil. And within Dante's living hell, he discovers that there's 9 circles of sin and punishment, which include limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, anger, heresy, violence, fraud, and treachery. Episode 1 provides an intro to the unknown, and the 9 episodes after represent each layer of hell. I know this video wasn't uploaded on a Sunday, and I'm definitely not your preacher, but the similarities to religion and the afterlife are extremely intriguing to me. I'm not exactly religious, but the concept of purgatory and hell remain incredible ways of storytelling that you don't have to necessarily believe in. Dante's Inferno comes off mundane to me with religious bias. I find the similarities to Dante's Inferno to be a unique Easter egg rather than inspiration, because even though the 9 circles of hell are present, they aren't depicted to be bad or morally problematic. To be fair though, where bread might make you fat, it's quite a stupid reason to burn in hell for. The main antagonist of Over the Garden Wall is named the Beast and is involved throughout the whole miniseries. The Beast is one of the most fascinating aspects of the show for me, and since I've been talking about the show's resemblance to heaven, hell, and religion, it's not a reach for me to assume that the Beast is a personified version of the devil. I know I'm joking a lot, but I'm being genuine when I say the Beast is a major part of why the show works. In episode 1, Wirt and Greg meet the Woodsman, and the first thing the brothers are told is to beware the Beast. The devil has always been a compelling antagonist to me because instead of directly beating up the hero or causing violence, he's depicted as a manipulative liar. I know fear is subjective, but an ancient evil that manipulates people for its own gain will forever be more impactful to me than Megatron. It's hard to cut into a steak without a knife and fork, so I need to include details for you to understand why the Beast works so well without completely killing your experience of watching the the show when this video is over. The reason I feel the Beast is really impactful is because of how the show displays him through its animation and soundtrack. Over the Garden Wall's art style is heavily inspired by vintage Disney cartoons such as Bambi, Alice in Wonderland, and aspects of Tim Burton. And where human-like animals and happy colors can express adventure and fun, dark shadows and scary imagery can equally express fear and doubt. The show balances the aesthetic of darkness and innocence well. You have character designs like Greg, who resembles a heroic little boy, while also having the Woodsman, who resembles a man with loss and a burden to bear. From the outside looking in, you might view Wirt and Greg as upbeat pilgrim people in an old time period due to their character designs, to then watch the show and discover that they're just Halloween costumes. And this relates to the Beast because the only thing displayed of him are his glowing eyes and silhouette. The Beast is shown hiding in the shadows, only discussing with others when it's to his benefit. But no matter who he's talking to, his silhouette and eyes are always visible even from a distance. The only comparable antagonist to the Beast would be Bill Cipher, seeing as they both resemble the devil by making deals with other people for self-benefit. The difference between them though is that the Beast has more of a reputation within his world than the characters within, where Bill Cipher is only known by a handful of people while being expressive and straightforward. The Beast is known by everybody in the unknown, some have even made deals with him such as the Woodsman, but little is known about him other than his existence. The Beast, his reputation and actions are explained through the show within the music. And just like the animation, the soundtrack is amazing and the best I've heard in a cartoon. You have charming songs inspired by Shirley Temple about potatoes and molasses.
Oh, potatoes and molasses.
You have a marriage song inspired by jolly old cartoons from the 1940s.
The loving letter boy, the swoops and sweeps and curls. Calligraphers are just a thing to help you win your girl.
And you have a nice old-fashioned love song.
A is for the apple that he gave to me.
But just like the animation, where the light songs lay, so do the dark ones. Wow, that was old to say. I said details about the Beast are heavily displayed within the soundtrack. An example, this is when Greg and Wirt are at a tavern and the Beast is out there sung to the brothers.
I met this helpful woodsman who told us which direction to go to avoid the Beast.
It's the Beast.
Oh, you guys have heard of the Beast too?
We all know the Beast, Pilgrim. He lurks out there in the unknown, seeking those who are far from home, hoping never to let you return. Ooh, better beware. Ooh, the Beast is out there. Ooh, better be wise and don't believe his lies.
The song introduces the reputation of the Beast, causing a factor of fear for the characters. The Beast is described as a liar, and the brothers are told not to be tempted by his lies. We learn about the Beast from two perspectives, the brothers and the Woodsman. After the song, we see the Woodsman cut down trees and discuss with the Beast. And through their interaction, we learn that the Woodsman keeps his lantern lit because his daughter's spirit lives within it. The Woodsman also threatens the Beast to stay away from those children, referring to Wirt and Greg. As an audience, we now know the Beast is malicious, but we don't know why. Alright, I'm bullshitting. With context clues, it explains why in the song, but don't be a lame idiot. Watch the show and find out for yourself. Wirt and Greg don't have knowledge that the Beast is after them specifically, since they don't have the perspective of the Woodsman, so they remain tunnel-visioned on finding a way out of the woods. Alright, I've now hit a brick wall. I've explained how the animation and soundtrack help make the Beast intimidating and mysterious, but to explain any further I need to address the brothers. Wirt is the oldest out of the two and loves poetry and instruments, but is very awkward and cowardly. Greg is Wirt's younger half-brother and is very courageous and fearless, treating everything as a game while not understanding that his actions have consequences. Wirt and Greg are very opposite because Wirt is a teenager and Greg is 5 years old. And just like the Beast, Wirt and Greg are another reason why the show works. Greg and Wirt don't have complex narratives or hidden secrets. They're easy to understand, and that's why I love their dynamic. The creators had a clear message with these two, and it really had an impact on me. Being 18, I've got to experience being both a child and a teenager, and within the last 4 years, I've had some of the best and worst moments of my life. I can assure you that you have all heard the phrase, enjoy being a kid while it lasts. I never took it seriously at the time, but now I've really learned to understand it. Being a teenager is hard, and having the expectation to grow up and be responsible is hard, and having to say goodbye to your child self is even harder. Children are more artistic, happy, and charismatic because they don't have to fear judgment, consequence, or insecurity. And Wirt and Greg are the perfect interpretation of young adulthood and childhood. And all this comes back to the Beast. Within the Beast is out there, this is said.
For once your will begins to spoil, he'll turn you to a tree of oil and use you in his lantern for to burn.
There's an important song from the perspective of the Beast and applies to the lost wanderers within the unknown, and it's named Wayward Souls.
Come, wayward souls, and wander through the darkness. There is a light for the lost and the meek. Sorrow and fear are easily forgotten when you submit to the soil of the
The song is telling those who get lost in the unknown to submit, even stating that sorrow and fear will be forgotten if they do. The beast encourages those who are lost to give up hope, because when a child loses hope of going home, they submit and the beast turns them into an edelwood tree, becoming a part of his forest. And the rest of Wayward Souls is sung from the perspective of those who have given up to the beast. It's common judgment that kids are easy to prey on because they can be easily manipulated, but that's not the only type of people that the beast prey on. Through the series, Greg remains optimistic and full of spirit due to his child curiosity and innocence. As children, we don't think about the negatives in a situation, causing kids to be explorative and fearless. And through the show, Wirt is pessimistic and realistic, accepting that they'll never escape the unknown, causing them to be scared in every situation they encounter. So if the beast wants lost wanderers to submit and lose hope so they can become part of his forest, which one is an easier target? A courageous, optimistic child that is unrealistic and easy to manipulate, or a pessimistic teenager who is realistic of a situation, making them doubtful but smarter and harder to manipulate? The answer is neither. They are both equally vulnerable, and that makes the brothers unique to the unknown. Without Greg, Wirt would have lost hope early on in the show and fell to the beast. And without Wirt, Greg would have been tricked by the beast very, very early on. Wirt has issues with Greg resenting him because of his childlike behavior, and through the show, Greg has to learn that some of his actions have consequences. Maybe this dynamic clicked more with me personally because it's a message I really admire. Adulthood has benefits, but pushing the kid within us back can cause many setbacks. For a lot of people, as they get older, anxiety, depression, and doubtfulness rise while confidence, creativity, and courage diminish. I've struggled with this dynamic for many years, and where drinking, smoking, and certain things I can't say have their moments, eating cereal, watching Adventure Time, and not fearing every word I say also have their moments. I can relate a lot to Wirt, and I understand why he doesn't have courage like Greg, and to be fair, if I was in a situation, I probably wouldn't either. And I could relate to Greg because if I was fighting in an unknown place, I would probably be just as explorative due to me not being old enough to think logically. Wirt and Greg are two opposites that are forced to bond by the end of the show, and they throw a curveball for the beast, making everything a lot more interesting. And to see how everything turns out, you should experience it on your own. This video isn't meant to be an in-depth analysis of the whole show, so I summarized a lot of my feelings and thoughts. Over the Garden Wall is a show that deserves to be experienced and viewed because in all honesty, it's an amazing show, an amazing miniseries that is incredibly well crafted, while also paying incredible attention to detail. It's available on Hulu and is around 2 hours long, and if you can, please watch it. And the whole point of this video is to hopefully persuade you to watch it. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, it would be super helpful for you to subscribe and like the video. I really do like making videos like these, and I want to commit as much as I can, so if you choose to support me, I'm super grateful. I have new projects in the works, so bear with me if I take time, but I definitely really want to work on them. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember to beware the beast.
There's an old black train a-comin', scraping along the iron. You don't need no ticket, boys, it'll take you when it's time. Come on now, young strangers, weren't you someone's son?